housemoney.media. Hello, Alan Corey here with an episode like none other as we dig into a conversation I just had with Grant Cardone of Cardone Capital. You may know him from his best-selling book, The 10X Rule, or his appearance on Discovery Channel's Undercover Billionaire. Grant is a commercial real estate expert who controls over $5 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars of real estate. You don't want to miss this episode. Welcome to Real Estate Maximalist. I'm your host, Alan Corey. I've been investing for over 20 years, author of 3 books about real estate and finance, and I'm the lead of the Alan Corey team at eXp. We're a group of real estate agents who work in both residential and commercial real estate market of Atlanta. I tweet daily at Real Estate Maxi about my experience in residential, commercial, long-term rentals, short-term rentals, new construction, house flipping. I've done it all, but it's much easier to just say I'm a real estate maximalist. All right, so I just had a talk with Grant Cardone, big player in commercial real estate, big influencer online, 4.1 million Instagram followers, 1.6 million on TikTok, and 650,000 followers on Twitter. This is Grant Cardone's profile. I'm mentioning his social media handles because this conversation took place on social media last week. It's called Twitter Spaces. If you're not familiar with it, Twitter has an open conference call feature. The way it works, Grant co-hosted this Twitter space with another co-host named Nelson Epega, and you'll hear Nelson and Grant's voice and my voice and other people's voices asking questions within this public forum where anyone can join and listen in. At one point, this conversation had up to 450 people listening, and on occasion, anyone in the audience can be pulled up on quote unquote a virtual stage, given the opportunity to have the mic and talk real estate. This is where I connected with Grant Cardone. It's about commercial real estate, the differences of commercial real estate. And just so you know, you're going to learn quickly, Grant is all in on commercial real estate, specifically apartment buildings. He is going to bash everything to do with residential real estate, and that's okay. I bring different guests every show to Real Estate Maximalist. Everyone loves their strategy the most. There is no correct strategy. It's one that works for you. That's what I want to bring you, is those options. And I love to hear why people are so passionate about their strategy. So let's dig in, and let's start with Grant Cardone and what he thinks about credit scores, because credit scores is such a big factor in residential real estate. And here's Grant's take on credit scores in commercial real estate.
Nobody looks at my credit score. It's a scam. You guys are told to improve your credit score and worry about your credit score. Dude, worry about your assets. As long as you got assets, nobody gives a shit about your score. Multifamily real estate, 32 units, 16 units. It is easier to get a loan on that with a poor credit score than it is to get a loan on a single family home with a poor credit score. Because no matter what your credit score is on a multifamily deal, 32 units, preferably something even larger than that, they're not looking at your ability to pay for the debt. They're looking at the property's ability to fund the debt. And it just gets it off of you and it gets it onto the property. You literally are going to you're not even going to be responsible for the debt if the loan goes bad. The property will be. So, Alan, are the big deals, am I being straight with people when I say bigger deals are easier to get funding for than small deals?
Yeah, the difference is this. When you're getting a small deal, you're getting a residential loan, they look at the borrower. You're appraised, that property is appraised based on comps of other similar residential deals. That's not the commercial approach. If it's 5 units or more, like Grant is telling you, 100% the truth, 5 units or more, they evaluate the deal, not the borrower. Does this deal pay for itself? They pay more attention to the income and the vacancy and the rent rolls. It's called a T3 or a T6 or the T12. That's the trailing 3 months, 6 months, 12 months of the rent roll, the income that's coming in. You're buying a business, you're getting a business loan. All they care about is the income and the assets of the business, not so much the borrower. So that is 100% right.
Tell us this, right? Why do you think people are so afraid to go big? Why do you think people think the best way to go about it is go small and then grow? What are your thoughts about that?
It's your reputational pull. People, you have to have confidence. You have to have experience. No one's going to invest with you if you're saying, hey, I've never bought a real estate deal. And I've got something under contract, and then you're going out and you're trying to shop it around. That's tough to do it unless you've done some deals before. So all I know is what worked for me. But because I started with a $99,001, one bedroom condo, and then went to a duplex and then a triplex. Over time, everyone in my network, they weren't rich people. I didn't grow up rich. I lived in the projects when I bought my first place. And what happened was I built up a reputation that, Alan's the real estate guy in our network. In our neighborhood, Alan's the real estate guy. And then so people started bringing me deals, and they just got bigger and bigger. And I had the confidence. I started earning the confidence because I didn't have...
What was your first deal, Alan?
In Brooklyn, Fort Greene, Brooklyn, I bought a condo, 1 bedroom. It was $99,000. I bought it.
How much you got? How much real estate you got now?
I've got 50 million assets under management, and then I've got like a $6 million personal portfolio.
Yeah, good for you, man.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming here too. I appreciate it, man. This is a good guy to connect up with, guys. So make sure you're following Alan. You can learn a lot from him. This is, this is the easiest game in the world. I'm telling you. Because you guys, I'm looking at your guys. I'm looking at y'all's profiles, man. There ain't no chance you guys are going to be movie stars.
Yo, great.
Oh man, I think I just got roasted by Grant Cardone. Pretty sure he called me and everyone else in the audience ugly, but I'll take it. But there's a couple words that we've said so far in this episode that may be unfamiliar with you. So I just want to introduce you. At the beginning of the episode, I said that Grant controls $5 billion. I just said, when he asked me about my real estate experience, I said I have $50 million of assets under management. And that may be unfamiliar phrasing to you. I know it was for me as of 2 or 3 years ago before I started investing in commercial real estate myself. So what this means, you have to understand how commercial real estate deals work. In a residential deal, it's my name's on the house, my spouse's name's on the house. We own the house. Our personal finances are vetted, whether we can afford the house, and it's quite clear who owns it. In commercial real estate, an LLC owns it. And within that LLC, there's an operating agreement that says, hey, some people own this property and can make decisions about it. Some people own this property and cannot make decisions about it. And that's usually a split called GP or LP, general partner or limited partner. So general partner is usually the person who put the deal together, negotiated the deal, got it under contract, and they have the control of the deal. They're managing the assets. That is what a GP does. They are also an owner. It might be a thin slice of the pie. Every deal, every LLC is set up differently. It could be a 1% ownership. It could be a 30% ownership. It could be a 75% ownership. It's all spelled out in the operating agreement of the LLC. And then when you do these big commercial deals, like Grant said, your credit score doesn't matter so much. It's more about, hey, can this deal pay for itself? And if so, then you take that LLC and you go raise money and get LPs to join your LLC, these limited partners. And they are saying, hey, I'll invest in this deal because I like the deal. I like you as the operator. And here's a check for $5,000, $50,000, $5 million, whatever it is. And based on the size of that check, they get slices of ownership, 1%, 10%, 15%, 30%. It all varies. But that is sort of the commercial talk. Hey, Grant controls $5 billion of real estate, which means he gets to make the decisions of it. He gets to decide who the property manager is going to be, how much they're going to charge for rent, whether they're going to do a cash out refi. Are they going to renovate it now? Are they going to sell it? Are they all these sort of decisions that, managers of real estate have to make every single day. And that's also what investors want. They want Grant to be making those decisions because they're not real estate experts. They have money they want to invest with a real estate expert. So that is when you hear the word controls or assets under management, like in my case, that's what it means. I, along with partners, have bought $50 million worth of real estate, and I own very thin slices of a really big pie of real estate, and I get to make decisions about that real estate. And I've got investors excited about the deal, excited about me, excited about my partners. and we execute on that. So that's sort of how the real estate world shapes up, and why Grant is saying if you've got the bad credit, then jump right into commercial real estate, because it's a business loan, like I explained, and they're just going to look, hey, can this $10 million property pay for itself? Because there's 100 owners. We're not going to come after the 100 owners who've all thrown in $5,000. We're going to give you a loan that's just based on this property supporting paying back the loan on its own, as long as there's good management and there's good operators or GP members who have experience doing such a thing. So we'll jump right back into this conversation. And what we're going to talk about next is Grant's idea of going 10X. He's got a book called The 10X Rule, very popular. He started the 10X movement. The long and short of it is, whatever your goals are, multiply it by 10. So if you want to buy $1 million worth of real estate, why not set your goal at $10 million? Because if you achieve half of that bigger goal, $5 million, well, you 5X'd your original goal, even though you quote unquote failed at reaching your 10X goal. So as long as you're always 10Xing your goals, you're probably going to achieve more than you thought that you could. So he took the strategy to real estate, and he likes to think big, real big. He usually doesn't look at properties under $100 million. And he's teaching others, go out there, go get those $100 million deals, because they're all controlled by hedge funds and Wall Street and these big, big organizations. They're constantly looking to sell properties as part of their business model. And if you're on their radar, you can maybe buy one. And remember, you don't need the money to buy it. You don't need the credit score to buy it. You just get it under contract, get your thin slice of equity in that LLC, and then you go raise money. That's been his strategy for the last 15 years. And because the strategy has worked so well for him and has built him a $1 billion empire, he's going to tell everyone, skip the residential stage. So when he says skip it, he's talking about skip the residential investing, go straight to commercial, because that's where the big deals are, and big deals mean big money.
Okay, Barry Sternlicht. He's the largest multifamily owner in America today, 115,000 units. He had 89,000 12 months ago. Do you know what that means? They added 26,000 last year. Every one of those deals is on adjustable loans. Barry's not sleeping good right now, bro. Now, Barry's a publicly traded company. I have a whole list. I got the top 100 owners in the country. What I do is I watch these guys. And when I started studying when I was 30 years old, none of these guys were buying single-family homes one at a time. They were buying fucking neighborhoods. And then I figured out, well, because they're no smarter than anybody in this room. Real estate people are definitely not the smartest people. And but they have a lot of common sense. Like if you have more common sense than intelligence, they're completely different things. You go into these FTX rooms and these Forex rooms and these Bitcoin and crypto rooms, man, the intelligence is fucking off the rails. But it doesn't mean they got anything. But they smart, man. So what I did was I studied these cats for 3 years, and the next deal I did, to make a long story short, the third deal that I ever did in my career, I bought 38 units. I put $350,000 down. I raised the money from my friends. I got a loan for the rest. I made $5 million on one deal. And I was 33 years old, I became a multi-millionaire before I became a millionaire. And it was because I did 32 units. The first two deals made me money, but they didn't make me they didn't make me what the 38 units made me. So anyway, that's what I would do. I'd skip it, man. I'd go straight to what and look, a year ago the opportunity did not exist that exists today.
Absolutely.
These groups, I'm gonna read off a group. I'm gonna read Starwood has 115,000. They added 30,000 units, 27,000 units last year. Here's another group. And I have all the names. MAA, they got 100,000 units. Okay, they're out of Tennessee. Morgan Properties, 94,000 units. I know the guy that runs that deal. He added 4,000 units last year that I know of. Avalon Bay, 81,000 units. Greystar, 80,000 units. They added 5,000 last year. Equity Residential, 79,000 units. Do you guys think that these guys keep the 79,000? They rotate them. These groups rotate. So every year they have to sell somewhere between 5 and 10% of their portfolio. That means Mark Perrell at Equity Residential this year will have to sell 8,000 of his 80,000 units. And every one of the guys on this list have the same problem. So guess what? This list will not be buying each other's products this year. Okay? Because I can go through the news and I can start telling you, every one of these guys is already announced. Starwood, Morgan Properties, Avalon, Graystar, Equity, Related, the entire list that I'm talking about, Irvine Company. They can't buy any real estate right now because their investors, Wall Street, wants their money. See, their money comes from Wall Street. And Wall Street's getting hammered right now. Stock markets got hammered. The crypto got hammered. Hotels got hammered. Office is getting hammered. And now this is going to get hammered.
Grant, if I could jump in, what advice, like people listening, what would we do with this information? Who do we contact? Who do we network with?
First of all, where do you live?
I'm in Atlanta.
Okay, good. So Atlanta, okay, you should be, what part of Atlanta you live in?
In town, Atlanta.
Okay, good, bro. You start driving the neighborhood. You need to start looking at the names on the properties. Cortland Properties, Starwood, Hunt Properties, Camden Properties. You guys know all these names. These names are in every city. But you see, unfortunately, you've been told to go look for a single family home, so you're not seeing these big companies. And this is where the blood's going to be this cycle. This isn't going to be the stripper that bought 5 homes back in 2008 with no money. This is going to be big groups that have to sell these assets. So look up rather than sideways. Alan, so start looking for those big groups, man. You're already buying that stuff. Start looking for them. Make a contact there. You know, what's the biggest deal you've ever done?
17 million, 152 units, Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah. So, bro, look, you find a deal that's 100 million. Call me.
Okay.
Now we gotta find out why they're selling. If they're selling because, hey, man, this is what you want. Hey, why are you guys selling right now? Man, our funds due. We got to blow this thing out. Okay, good. I got a buyer. Okay. Now, if we have a seller, you know what I mean? They got to be a real seller, which means they have to have some pressure on them. There has to be some distress in their system. Not the property, but the seller, the fund.
Now, to add a little bit more color, obviously I haven't done these big deals, so I'm asking questions so I can learn from Grant, and maybe this will be the next step I take, but it's interesting to hear his take. And it's also so important to understand what he means by funds. A lot of these big players, the Wall Street funds, the hedge funds, has the word fund in it. And the way to think of it is like a mutual fund in stocks or in your retirement fund. You have this basket full of an asset. So a real estate fund's the same way. They'll create a huge basket, a giant real estate portfolio, and investors can invest in that fund of real estate. And a lot of the Wall Street hedge fund and these big guys, they're getting funding from pensions, teacher pensions, or other unions, and saying we have agreed to pay a pension in the future, so we have to invest the funds now so that we have enough money to pay out this pension in the future. So those are the people who are funding these real estate funds, and these real estate funds go out and buy real estate, and there's usually a time limit on these funds, and they have their criteria that says we'll never own a property for more than 10 years. We'll always sell 10% of our property every year. They'll offer different criteria and different funds to attract different investors, these big investors who have billions and billions of dollars to invest. But when he's saying Wall Street wants their money, it's because they've lost so much money in other assets. And one thing that there's still money in right now is real estate. So they're going to push heavily on those GP operators of these funds to sell. Now, the GPs have control. They can say yes or no. But let me put an asterisk on that. A lot of times, people who put X amount of dollars into a deal, let's say $100 million in the deal, part of that negotiation says, I get to force to sell whenever I want to. And this is what Grant calls taking the devil's money. They're going to say, fine, I'll take your $100 million. I'm going to go invest it. You get the rights and you get to determine when we get to sell, which sets you up for terrible real estate investing plays because the money person who is running a teacher's fund in Canada or New York or wherever it may be now is deciding when you buy and when you sell. And why would you want a non-real estate person make those decisions? Well, that's what Grant is smelling right now, that there's going to be a lot of blood. There's going to be a lot of forced sales on these hedge funds when they don't want to sell necessarily because the real estate guys are saying, no, we got to ride this out, but they're going to have to put it on the market. And that's what Grant sees as an opportunity. So these guys are going to feel squeezed and tight and have some assets to sell. So now that I've learned Grant wants $100 million properties, the next logical question, where do you like these properties to be? What's your buy box? What's your buying criteria? Do you have certain locations? Because I'm an Atlanta guy. I want to know if Grant likes Atlanta stuff.
I love Atlanta. Here's my markets. Any of you in these markets? Nashville, anything in Tennessee. Alabama, if you're right, taking notes. Anything Florida, Georgia, Savannah, Atlanta. The Carolinas are fucking amazing. Arizona, Austin, Houston, Dallas, but not Galveston, not San Antonio. Those three I just gave you. And then you got to network with people. You're not going to be able to do that $100 million deal by yourself. You didn't do that $17 million deal by yourself.
No, not at all.
No, you had a bank. You had a bank, and then you got tenants. So none of you guys are going to own 100% of the property, okay? It's just not how you do this. So if you're one of those people that's like, I want to own I got to be in control of everything. Dude, you ain't in control. You know, just have you a great asset and be invested in it. And have a great asset, though. Don't, buy something unbelievable, because when this thing's over, the great shit is gonna rocket. It's gonna rocket to the moon. I mean, this stuff is gonna be so valuable when this recession passes.
Can we dig in what you mean then by great location? Because you named some states, and I think I know your answer, but I just want some clarification. Well, what makes something great within these states?
Well, great schools, hospitals. I probably want to stay away from Walmarts and Costco's. I want to be closer to the Starbucks and the Whole Foods and the Trader Joe's, where there's Chipotle's, where there's discretionary money. I don't mean a Starbucks and a Target. I mean a real Starbucks. And maybe have 2 or 3 of them around me. The more, the better. So when you find a 6-block radius and you got 2 or 3 Starbucks within 6 blocks, you got money. And I need jobs. I need jobs coming in. I need positive migration. Like, you could find 3 Starbucks on the street corner up in New York City, but I don't want to be up there because I can't collect my rents. So you also need a political system around you that's friendly to the owner. You guys start buying real estate the way I do, you'll never vote Democrat again. No offense, but you'll be like, shit, I can't vote. You won't be able to afford to vote Democrat because it's going to change the way you see property, okay, and the way you see wealth. I mean, you're just going to vote to protect yourself.
So what I hear in Grant's buy box criteria, I want to be within the Starbucks radius, not a Starbucks inside a Target, and not near the Walmarts, but near the Whole Foods. What he's saying is, hey, we're in a recession. The great areas are always going to be great. So we can buy the greatest areas, the wealthiest areas right now at a discount going into a recession. And it's really, really low risk because it's a great area in a recession. Is going to be a great area when the economy bounces back. So that is his buy box and his strategy. And you'll notice his states seem to be in the Southeast. And what he means through the political statement is that he's making is that every state is usually considered a landlord state or a tenant state. What laws are more friendly towards the landlord or the tenant? On average, the redder the state, the more landlord friendly they are, the more pro-business that they are. So he also likes leaning into that. So when he says, New York, I can't collect rents, he's just saying that the laws there, it's harder for evictions, it's harder to get back paid rent, it's harder to just be a landlord because there's stricter laws. They're more tenant favored. That is his strategy. It doesn't have to be your strategy, but that is sort of the big picture that he's painting here.
So what I'm telling you is, bro, you need to find the deal. I'm looking for a deal. You find a great deal. Anybody here find a great deal, great location, cash flows right away, there's upside, we can do something with it, they're in trouble, I'll buy the deal. I'll fund the deal. And if I can't fund it, I got buddies that can. And the more the better. The more units, the better. Don't don't look at one unit right now. Don't look at one single family home. See if you can get 20 of them. You need deals. Deals always bring money.
Grant's completely right about this. It takes a deal to get anything done. You find that deal, you'll go find the money, and then you're going to get your thin slice of pie. You can raise the people around it, the team, the GPs, the LPs. Once you have that deal, go get it. And this is an excellent segue to what I am launching right now, a course called The Broke Method to Real Estate Investing. You can go to realestatemaxi.com to learn about The Broke Method. And what it is over 20 strategies on how you can invest without money by being broke. One of them is this commercial way. You can also do it in residential real estate. You can do it through wholesaling, subject to. A lot of words you may not be familiar with. I'm trying to bring them in and introduce them to you throughout these episodes. But the broke method is an anagram. B is big deal finder. You got to go be this big deal finder, which is what Grant's talking about right here. R, reputational pull. You heard me talking about that. You have to have some sort of reputation that people want to invest in. O, outgoing outreach. This is what Grant is doing right now. He's outreaching to people, networking, saying, this is what I'm looking for. I'm going to go on Twitter Spaces saying, if you've got $100 million deals, come call me. That's the O in the broke method, outgoing outreach. K is the knuckle up ability. This is when the shit hits the fan, you got to be standing there, right? You got to be the one fighting off these other investors. You got to be one reading the news headlines. Who's going to be in trouble? How many did they bought? How many did they buy with adjustable rate loans? Whatever strategy you're using, you got to use your knuckle up ability. You're going to get knocked down, but you can't be knocked out. And then E is exit options. You need to have multiple exit and execution options so that the deal is going to work, and it's always going to be easier to have multiple execution options to raise money. And by that, maybe you buy an apartment building to rent it long term. But if that doesn't work, maybe we can rent it short term, and that's going to make money. If that doesn't work, maybe we're going to renovate it and sell it. And that's the third way it's going to make money. You have multiple execution options, and then that means you have multiple exit options. I'm going to do a cash out refi in year 5, or I'm going to sell it in year 7 if I can't cash out in year 5. These are multiple options, and I'll get into that in the broke method. Sign up now. You can pre-register at realestateMaxi.com. Come check it out, learn about the broke method. And just so you know, this conversation with Grant was over 3.5 hours long. I'm only bringing you 30 minutes here. I may work in pieces of it in future episodes and podcasts, but to listen to these episodes, follow me on Twitter, follow Grant Cardone on Twitter, and you're going to be notified when we go live and we start talking and we start sharing your stories, and we can pull you up on stage and start talking to you. So be on the lookout for that. Get your Twitter account going and check out the broke method. And thanks again to Nelson and Grant Cardone for holding this space and allowing me to ask some questions. What a blast. What a highlight of my real estate investing career. Thank you for letting me share it to you. Your reviews have been wonderful. And I want to thank our winner from last week, River, for sending us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. He wrote, very valuable and raw real estate knowledge, 5 stars, excellent podcast. A book is coming to you, guys. I am continuing it. The more reviews you write, take a screenshot, send it to marketing@coreyrealestate.com, and I'm going to pick a winner each week, read your review online, and send you a house fire book. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week on Real Estate Maximalist. All right, welcome to the after party again. You guys made it. Grab a drink, smoke, whatever your vice is. Kick up your heels. Let's have some fun. I think I'm just going to turn this into Twitter talk because to me, it's a game. Like I feel like I'm playing a video game, and It's what's your high score? Like how many followers or it's just been fun for me. And I follow a lot of big real estate accounts and they all say once a week, oh my gosh, talking about real estate on Twitter has been so great for my business. They don't really give in the details and what that means, how great it's been for their business. But we're going to find out. I'm going to see if they're full of shit, if they're telling the truth. Let's see if it's going to be big for my business. But I look at it as networking. It's networking, right? At the end of the day. But I'm playing this game, and it's sort of like when I played Nintendo in 4th grade, and I'd wait for the Nintendo magazine to show up, and it would give me a code on like Mike Tyson's Punch Out so that I could advance to the next level. Like I'm learning something, or I'll find something, I'll discover something, and I'm like, I got a cheat code. And I'm like, I want to share it with someone. I don't know who to share it with. So I'm sharing it to you guys here in the after party. So my Nintendo, cheat code this week is free website that helps A/B test your Twitter profile. It's called birdy.so, birdy.so. It's a free A/B testing. So what happens is you put in your Twitter profile and then you put an alternative Twitter profile. So, and what it does is it automatically changes your profile bio every hour. And then you can come back whenever you want and it'll say, hey, based on the data, people who look at this profile, so for example, right now I've got profile A conversion, 34%. I've had 316 profile clicks with version A. That's 108 followers. I've only been running this for about 2 days. It says I should do it for 2 more days. My alternative, my B profile, exact same thing, except at the very end, it says Atlanta in it. And this one has a 36% conversion rate. So 108 followers, and it only took 298 profile clicks. So I'm A/B testing what people want in my profile. And right now, just adding the extra word Atlanta to it seems to be working. I don't know. What does that mean? This is the sort of the fun stuff. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Does that mean people who are following me on Twitter live in Atlanta? Does it mean people like that got some sort of local expertise? Does it mean, I'm not trying to be something for everyone? I don't know what that means. But I'll tell you, I previously learned that when I've done over $30 million of real estate in my profile, no one liked that. I think I was unrelatable. I'm going to try it again, and it's learning who my audience is. But these are sort of like little sneaky codes that I'm doing that I think are fun. And, I want to share my advice. If you guys, share your advice with me, if you want to, grow a Twitter profile. And I think all this stuff is actually transferable. It's the same sort of thought process, the same game mentality, gamemanship. If you want to put it on Instagram, if you want to put it on TikTok, pick your poison, LinkedIn, whatever it is. So birdy.so, I'm not affiliated with it. I don't have an affiliate link. It's actually a free website. Use it and test out your profile. It's fun. It's fun to think that, if someone's making a snap judgment based on my profile, right now the data shows they like it when I put the word Atlanta in there. And if we're in Twitter land, I feel like I got to talk about Elon Musk. I don't necessarily like everything he does. I don't agree with everything he does. He has an excellent track record of turning around tech companies, right? Or building new companies. Like he's not someone who's going to fail. I look at it as this way, like there's some really successful real estate investors out there. I don't necessarily like a lot of them. I don't mesh with them. I don't think I would want to hang out and have a beer with some of them, but the results are that they're pretty good at what they're doing. This could go for professional athletes, right? It's going to go for social media influencers. That's the same sort of way. Like this guy knows what he's doing and he's got enough money to get it done. And I think he's got enough ego that he won't fail. So that's why I'm sort of leaning into Twitter, because I'm like, hey, let me get in early before this thing takes off, because he's made Tesla take off. That wasn't his company. He bought someone else's company and made it take off. PayPal, he made that take off, right? SpaceX, literally taking off into space. No one else is doing that stuff. So I think Twitter is going to take off. I want to be there for the ride. I want to meet as many real estate investors, learn as much from other real estate people, teach as much from other real estate people, and meet you, hopefully. So join me as we take off into space, Twitter space. Let's see where it goes. See you next time. Thanks for sticking around for the after party.